Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share some thrifting tips with you guys. I'm sorry if I sound a little nasally. I am dealing with some allergies at the moment and my nose has been really stuffed up lately, so I apologize if I sound very nasally. I feel like I sound very nasally. So I have been thrifting for quite some time now. I actually have been thrifting with my mom since I was a little kid. However, I didn't actually personally get into it until maybe, let's see, it's 2022 and I started thrifting in 2017, which is when I first started my reselling business. So I quickly became a thrifting addict just because I loved not only flipping things, but also I learned that I could also find a lot of things for myself. So I didn't have to spend tons of money to get cute clothes. It was also an easier way to find my style. I don't think I have gone too many weeks without thrifting. I go at least once a week, if not multiple times a week. At this point, 90% of my closet is thrifted. The only things that I own that aren't thrifting are like a few pairs of jeans and shoes, which is like the hardest thing for me to thrift, just because I feel like pants and jeans in general are really hard. Specifically with shoes, I feel like it's really hard to find something that you actually like and that actually fits you and that isn't too worn out. So yeah, shoes is something that I will usually buy brand new unless I get really lucky, but at this point I haven't gotten lucky with shoes. So anyway, if you want to get into thrifting and you have no idea where to start or it feels overwhelming, I know it sure did when I first started. I didn't know what to look for or where to start or how people were finding all these amazing things. So here are just some tips to help you get started. So the very first tip I have for you is to actually create a list. So have a goal in mind, create an in search of list. What are you looking for? Because if you walk in there I know I've walked in there just with an open mind, but I feel like when you're first getting started and you don't want to come home with a bunch of things that you'll regret buying, then it's just good to have a list, especially when you're first getting into it. Create a list and have a goal. For example, if it's summer and you want to get summer clothes and you're looking specifically for dresses, keep in mind like what kind of dress, a maxi dress, what kind of cut, what colors, fabric even. So just keep specific items, colors, styles in mind when you're thrifting and create a list. You can either write this list down or just keep a mental note just so when you go in there, you know what you're looking for and it becomes much easier to find things, and you also know like what section to look in. Although I recommend going through the entire store, but at least now you have a specific goal in mind instead of just walking in there having no idea what you're looking for. And along with having a goal, I highly recommend creating a Pinterest board, an inspiration board, just so you have a visual idea of what you're looking for. Pin items that you would like to get, like similar styles, colors, and go through your Pinterest board before you head into the thrift store. That way it's fresh in your mind and you are visually reminded of what you are looking for. So here's an example of my current Pinterest inspiration board for thrifting. Currently, I'm looking for spring items because the warm weather is quickly approaching and I don't really have many shorts or short sleeve tops. I have a lot of sweaters and I do have lightweight sweaters that are great transitional pieces, but I still have a lot of holes to fill in my wardrobe. So I have pinned several pieces that I am currently and constantly looking for anytime I walk into a thrift store. That way it's fresh in my mind and I have a visual reminder of what I'm looking for. And the third tip, which can require some patience, but I highly recommend it, is to look through all the sections and all the sizes. Keep an open mind when you're thrifting. You don't have to necessarily stick to a specific size. I know a lot of thrift stores actually categorize like by size, and I used to just look through my size and then just stop there. But what I didn't realize back then is that not only can things be misplaced, but specifically like with vintage items, size doesn't really matter, and it could just be so different. So although I am a size small, something in a size large might fit me just as well, especially if you're going for like an oversized fit, or if you're like a size large, there could be items in a size small that are oversized and would fit you just as well. So keep an open mind and just look through all the sizes. Not only all the sizes, but actually like all the sections, like check the men's section specifically. And if you're like a petite person, maybe even the kids section. I know, like, for example, my sister-in-law, she can find a lot of amazing things in the kids section because she's very petite. And sometimes I can get away with it too because I'm pretty small myself. But just keep an open mind, look through all the sections. You can find so many amazing sweaters. Like if you're into vintage grandpa sweaters, you can find so many amazing sweaters in the men's section specifically. Like in the fall and winter, the men's section is my go-to because it's just incredible what you can find. And also, like if you're looking for a specific item like overalls or a dress, sometimes different thrift stores place those in different like sections. So if you look through the dress section, you might find a pair of overalls, or if you look through the denim section, you can also find a pair of overalls. So different thrift stores put things different places. So it's just good to get into the habit of just going through all the sections. And the more you do this, the more quickly you'll be able to do it. So it's not going to take a lot of time. I know when I first started looking through all the sections, I would take hours, but now I can go through a whole thrift store in just like 45 minutes to an hour, which isn't that long compared to 3 hours. So yeah, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And tip number 4 is to look for higher quality materials, especially if you're looking to create a long-lasting wardrobe or a curated capsule wardrobe. You want to have quality over quantity. So you want to look for things like silk, wool, linen pieces, just things like that. I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter. I'm just saying the more you go thrifting and the more you just feel the clothing, which I highly recommend you do, like just touch all the fabric. It is so much easier to find high quality items at a thrift store for such a lower price compared to like retail price. Like why not? You're gonna find it. So the more you go thrifting, the better you're gonna get at just knowing what feels high quality and what doesn't. So going along with this, I highly recommend that when you're going through each aisle, just get into the habit of feeling the fabric. And the more you do this, the better you're gonna get at telling what's high quality and what's not. Like now I can touch something and be like, oh, this is cashmere, or this is silk, versus just a satin top. You're just gonna get really good at it that you don't even have to look at the tag. I mean, you should always look at the tag regardless, but what I'm saying is this is gonna help you go through each aisle quicker because you can just go through everything and just touch everything, like feel everything, versus like actually going through everything one by one and checking the tag, if that makes sense. And tip number 5 is optional, but it's really helpful, especially if you don't really like trying things on at a thrift store. I know I rarely try anything on. I just figure if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I can just always resell it or give it to someone else. I don't know. I don't like going into the fitting rooms at the thrift store. So what I like to do instead is figure out my measurements. So for example, if you're looking for jeans, just measure your favorite pair of jeans that you already have, like ones that fit you perfectly, and measure the waist, measure like the inseam. I think the waist is like the most important because everything else can be easily altered, or you can always roll jeans up or whatever. But know your measurements and then write those down. Take a measuring tape with you to the thrift store. That way, if you find something and you're not sure if it's gonna fit, you can measure. And if the measurements match up to your own measurements, then it's likely gonna fit. So it's just handy just to keep like a measuring tape in your bag at all times. And that way you can be sure that something's gonna fit and you don't necessarily have to try it on. All right, guys, that brings me to my final tip, which is to be patient and thrift often. I know it can get really overwhelming and it's a skill that you have to build over time. And trust me, you will get better the more you do it. So just be patient, thrift often. I know a lot of people don't have all the time in the world to go thrifting. However, you don't have to spend hours and hours in a thrift store. Just make a habit of popping into a local thrift store every so often and just browse, look through everything, follow the rest of my tips. The more you do it, the quicker you're gonna get and the better you're gonna get. So it doesn't necessarily have to take all the time in the world. You don't have to spend like a whole day thrifting. Just go often and be patient. Also realize that it's okay if you come out empty-handed. It's important to be intentional about what you're purchasing because you don't want to get everything and anything just because it's cheap or it's kind of cute. Just make sure that you're getting things that you absolutely love because you don't want things to pile up in your house and then you're probably going to end up redonating it anyways. All right, guys, those are all the thrifting tips I have for you today. Let me know if you have any thrifting tips that I didn't mention in this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.